Dr. B and Mrs. B, empty nester lifestyle. Ba-da-da-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da, la 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 la.
We are back. That's right. We are back to the Dr. B and Mrs. B Empty Nester Lifestyle Podcast Show. This is show number 28, Mrs. B.
Yes, it is, Dr. B. Show number 28. Welcome, audience. How have you been? Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone. And we are continuing with our theme of shows. This podcast show number 28. The title of this show is How to Prepare Your Kids for Elementary School. Yes, how to prepare your kids for elementary school. Last show, podcast show number 27 was going back to school. But this time, guess what? Mrs. B and I are going to dive deeper into each level of going back to school. What do you think about that, Mrs. B?
Oh, it's time. It's time. School has started. Everyone's getting ready to get their equipment together, their desks, their seat assignments, and it's getting settled down, and the parents are getting settled down with their schedules. So as the children's schedule.
Hold on. Yeah, we know. Well, hold on. Okay, so
Okay,
we're going to
I'll
dive
wait.
deep in what happens in elementary school. Just
Sounds
quickly, little housekeeping. I want to thank all our podcast listeners on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, all the different Google devices, as well as Boom Play out there, Listen FM. Yes, thank you so much. And we want to thank all our listeners across the country, including California, Missouri, Michigan, Ohio, Florida, and of course North Carolina. So we still, we still bringing it. And again, what is so great about these podcast shows, Mrs. B, eventually we summarize these podcast shows into our TV show that has already dropped show number 1, but we're going to be preparing show number 2 based upon these podcast shows, Mrs. B.
Oh, yes. It's going to be a really good experience for you this year. I wish you well, parents. And we're going to share some of our wisdom with you. I also want to give a shout out to Podchaser as well. Thank you, all of the podcast platforms that work with us, and we work with them, and we quite appreciate you.
There you go. We appreciate all podcast platforms out there. So now we felt the need, and Mrs. B just mentioned that our experience, our 36 years together, and our lived experience as parents, we're going to dive deep into how we prepared and perhaps provide some suggestions, prepared our kids for elementary school, because again, now the excitement of coming back to school has leveled off, and you're in maybe your second or third week of the school year. And now, particularly for elementary school kids, it's a different environment. And we want to share a little bit of our experience, because we had 3 kids that were going to school and all went to public school. They went to schools in 3 different states and cities. First one was Indianapolis, Indiana. Second was Frederick, Maryland. And the third was Winterville, North Carolina. And Mrs. B and I prepared our elementary school kids a certain way. So I'm just going to ask Mrs. B, what were some of the strategies that you think we incorporated for our elementary school kids that was similar in each and every state and city?
Right.
Starting off with the oldest one, our oldest kid, starting in Indianapolis. She started in Indianapolis in kindergarten. Remember that? In kindergarten, our oldest in kindergarten.
Oh yeah, our oldest. Well, and we can't forget San Pedro, because we were there for 1 academic year. All right, so
yes,
San Pedro, and that's San Pedro, California, and that's LA Unified School
That's
District.
LA County.
Yes, LA County. Frederick County, Maryland schools, Indianapolis schools as well. And yes,
We were also in
with
Arkansas too. My bad.
Arkansas, Little Rock. Yes, we were in Arkansas, Little Rock
Oops.
district schools. They had a magnet
Thank you,
program
Little
there.
Rock.
Yes, thank you, Little Rock. And Little Rock, Arkansas.
Little Rock, Arkansas. But what was so simple? See, I forgot about the different places, man. It's like, how do I keep track of the places that
Well, they're
our
grown
kids
now.
raised?
They're grown.
We raised. But what was the similar thing is that we always glad you brought that up. We sought out public school systems
Hmm.
and which public school to enroll our kids into. It was just not any public school. Let me just leave this off. We actually did the homework
Oh,
about
yeah.
the public schools and where to relocate so our kids can go to a particular public school on that side of the town or that side of the city.
Yes, as parents, we were very particular. We led the way. You know, as a mother, you want to make sure they're in a nurturing environment. You want to find out the personalities of all the people around you. And I say that because you want to know how to get along with not only the teachers in your classroom and the administrators and the school counselors, but also being able to have students and parents that can communicate to each other. But speaking about the elementary school, it's always just a reminder in the previous podcast, yes, they were in public schools. Our adult children went to public schools, good public schools. We sought out, we looked at the stats, we looked at best schools, we did an internet search, we looked at the area, the geographic area, the living area, the type of
Resources. That was,
resources.
from my perspective, it was
Yes.
resources. When we visited school, we did a site visit, and we can actually start to get a gauge on if the certain public school had enough resources outside and inside, and that was
Yes.
critical on our decision in settling in on one side of the town versus another.
Yes, and enrichment and after school programs were
There you go.
so important and prevalent at the time.
Say that again.
Enrichment programs
Ooh,
and after school programs.
thank
So
you.
it would also be a part of not only tutoring if you needed to request a tutor for your children, but enrichment means doing other things, other school activities, sitting down and concentrating on different types of creative play, as well as schoolwork and different kinds of schoolwork. And it wasn't just sitting down about homework. It also increased and extended the time of teaching, not just the tutoring part of the classroom. After the teacher teaches, the teacher would actually teach the program again or go further in the class curriculum in the enrichment
Can you
programs.
give an example of the type of enrichment program or after school that we put our kids into?
Some of it was play activity. It would be either the arts or it could be something in performing arts or other social activities. But when it was academics, it could be enrichment programs such as science, such as English, such as social studies or mathematics. And so those enrichment programs after school would then be further extended, not just as tutoring by the teacher, but a further extension of if you had more knowledge and if that child was ready, then that child would begin to go to the next chapter of the book and read on, and then the teacher would teach to that. So that child began to absorb information and be taught information that put that child further ahead in the education, and that child would not be in a situation to, if they missed a lesson that day or absent that day or whatever reason, or having an issue with a particular section of the lesson,
Yeah.
they would catch up. So that's what it was.
For example, I would thank
And
you,
after
Miss.
school was playing outside,
Yeah, thank you.
programs, social skills, things
Yeah,
like that.
and I would provide an example is that many times our kids went to these extra reading sessions in the school.
Exactly.
Go to the library, the school library, and they would have some fun books of extra reading. Fun, and I do mean fun books that pique their interest even more after the lesson plans. Our oldest, our second, and our youngest always went to these extra reading sessions in the school to make their activity come to life in fun reading exercises. And it also helped them to get acclimated with their language skills,
Oh,
because
yes.
language is so important. And when our kids were developing their language skill, oftentimes they would have to go to a speech teacher
Yes.
to start pronouncing their words correctly because they're
Yes.
so energized. But as when you're in the school system, public school system, you have to be at least understood by your teacher, and sometimes they're a little bit too excited and don't not aware of pronunciation. So our kids were in extra tutoring for speech and learning how to pronounce words.
Yes.
And that was so instrumental, because as parents, we can only do so much. And as parents, we're not there in the classroom.
Yes.
So we have to trust. Here we go. We have to trust. And each and every place, we trusted the school system, the elementary school, to do the extra training, extra enrichment for our young kids, because they were developing, but they just don't get enough attention. Of course, many times in their own classroom, because there's lots of kids in each classroom.
Mhm.
But so we strongly encourage, once we got the information, we had our kids go to these extra enrichment and after school uh, programs. And many times it involves speech therapy or art, and also extra fun reading.
Oh, yes. My background is fine arts, and so what I had as an advantage for me and for our children was to be able to expose them in a positive way to different types of play, enrichment, creativity. They call it, STEM now, and different types of STEAM and different types of activities with illustration, book writing, design. So those elements were there right from the beginning. But also the speech, you're right, Dr. B, the speech was important. So we had the speech pathologist and the speech teacher. So you have to roll those R's and then pronounce those W's, and any type of difficulty with the phonics and pronunciation. And there was a time we were going to put our children into language immersion, which means several international languages or one language that the child could learn at that time, one at a time. So you immerse your child in English first, native speaking language for our children, and then in the United States, and then immerse them into different types of culture. And you can pick up those culture through play, activities, visual drawing. And so those were important. To be fair, before our children went to public schools, we also had home enrichment. So they would do creative play and reinforcement of learning at home. So the child has the first teacher, which is the parent, the mother and father in our case. And you might have extended family member that also helps as well, grandparents as well. But in this situation, when you're dealing one-on-one with children, um, you want to make sure that you're giving the knowledge that you know, and the knowledge you don't know, you go seek and find out who has that knowledge that can increase their talent. And that's what we did in our situation. But in other parent situations, it's different for each child. To be fair, I was going to go back to what I was saying. To be fair,
It's definitely.
our children also, before public school, went to Montessori schooling. They
Only
had,
one kid went through Montessori.
right, but those lessons from Montessori I brought home and taught the second kid and the third child at home as a working
But
stay-at-home
we
mother.
appreciate that. But
Right.
we're talking to the average folks
Well,
out
I
there.
want to be fair.
And let me just
I
let me
want to be
just say
fair.
this, Mrs.
They
B,
had other
please.
schooling
They
prior
did,
in
but here
private
we're
schools.
talking about.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I say public school. and
Yes.
how the most important of another thing that I want to element. I didn't want to. There's always different programs that everyone can get their kids into
Hmm.
before they get to school.
Sure.
But here's another thing that was a common theme from each place: how to prepare your kids to interact with other kids. Think about it. How to prepare your kids to interact with other kids of all walks of life. That's an area of which I concentrated upon for each of our kids
Hmm.
in elementary,
Hmm.
because you no longer the kids are no longer isolated with mommy and daddy anymore.
Hmm.
It's a shock for a lot of kids going to elementary school versus a Montessori school versus a church school, church-based school, or a special school which has certain types of folks there. When you decide to have your kid in public school, it's about being able to socialize with all types of individuals
Hmm.
and getting them those socialization skills of which mommy and daddy will not be there, but you got to inform your child, and I did this for all three. You got to get along with everyone of all walks of life,
Hmm.
even though you may not be comfortable, and we did this from place to place to place.
Oh yeah.
And so they were very a little bit more in tune to connect with their friends of all different backgrounds, and we constantly kind of
Oh yeah.
encourage them again and again. Just don't pick one friend, pick several friends to get acclimated to the
Yes.
school. Not just cling on to one or two friends, but constantly expand your network of friends at that particular elementary school, Mrs. B.
Oh yeah. I agree. I agree, Dr. B. Um, you know, when you're bringing your value system to the school. So each public school you go to, that's what you're bringing. What you believe and what you expect, and the teacher also expects expectations as well. So you have the parent handbook and you have the teacher handbook and the student handbook. So the teacher has his own has his or her own handbook because they're instructing and they're in charge of that classroom. But you bring your value system. So Dr. B is right. From school to school, we looked at socialization and cultures, and that was important as well in order to get along with the world that the child lives in and grow up to live in. Um, in our situation, prior to that, there was schools, preschools that were, whether it was church based, and there were some, and whether it was private schools and Montessori, and that fed into that learning process that we wanted for our child. Was the child able to expand and learn beyond that? But as far as public schools, um, with each school we went to from state to state, and the kids thought it was, oh, this is a vacation. Every time we went from place to place, we thought it was a vacation. But you want your child to think it's a vacation. In a sense, there's real learning going on, there's real life going on. You have the community, you become a member of the community each place you go to. So don't be hesitant, and let your child know that it's part of the growing process, and getting settled in the classroom and learning from each other, and being organized and putting up their things, and as instructed by the teacher. And so every place we've been, getting ready for the beginning of the year is very important, and then have that communication and with your child as well as the teacher. So that's important. Public schools, we used to kind of laugh about this. There's going to be different value systems that come into the public school when you go place to place, different types of beliefs, right? And so when you go from place to place, and your child's in the classroom, and they're learning all kinds of things and seeing all kinds of things from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and then you have your child come home with a question about several things that your family either believes in or don't believe in, or has a different way of living. What you do too, when we used to call it debriefing. What does that mean? Debriefing. They come home at the end of the year in the summer or the first part of the semester. Or what have you learned? What's going on? What do you want to say? Let me hear your voice. Let me hear what you have to say about it. Let's have some discussions and have that conversation. on that parent and child, or if you have a guardian and child level, and we would have that conversation. Okay, we believe in this. Well, I don't know about that. Let me explain this further about the situation you're talking about now, and what we don't necessarily believe in terms of teaching, learning methods, or anything like that. We always talk to the teacher, and what we do believe in, we promote it more.
Okay,
Growth more.
Mrs. B, we're getting along. We got to wrap
So
this
yeah,
up. So, what
so
are the takeaways
yes.
for how preparing your kids for elementary school? What are the takeaways for our audience?
Well, let me finish that last part. Debriefing, and you do it in the summertime too, to have the value system. Yeah, well, you do it in the summertime too, and so you can then be able to be a parent that's a leader at home, and whether you homeschool at home as well, that's in combination with some people do with the public schools, and that's what we've always done.
Okay, Mrs. B. So here's my takeaway, because we're 20 minutes and we got to wrap this
We
up.
know time.
We have to wrap this up
Yeah.
because, again, this is just digging deeper into elementary school.
Let's-
Save your extra comments for middle school and high school.
I'll
Okay?
save the extra comments
Please.
for middle school and high school.
So right
Yes,
now,
I will, but hold on.
So right now,
Let's-
my
yeah.
takeaway
There you go.
comments are
Hold on.
prepare, find schools that at least do your homework before, and provide as I said, resources are important. As Mrs. B said, enrichment and after school programs are very important. And hopefully, your child can expand their network with all types of children. Socialization is so important at the elementary when they first get in as pre-K. I can remember pre-K, kindergarten, first
Yes,
grade.
yes.
Socialization is number one priority. I
Yes,
mean, it's
they
not about
learn.
to make it fun for your child. Those
Yes.
early years, that's all they want to do, and
Their
they
early
want to
years.
play with other kids. They're tired. Let me just a little fun though. They're tired of playing with mommy and daddy. They can't. I can remember dropping off our oldest one time, and he jumped out of the van. He didn't even look back when he was going to
Going straight
kindergarten.
ahead.
He went straight
We
ahead
were
to
laughing.
the kindergarten state, and Mrs. B got a little choked up, and I was laughing.
You
I
called
said,
me from your job.
I was laughing. I said, he's gone.
He's gone. Took
He
off.
ain't coming back. He's ready. Again, most times the kids in elementary are ready to socialize outside of just mommy and daddy.
Personality. That's their
So
child personality.
it was a release. And many times, here's a little side note. Parents got to get used to stepping back and allowing your kid to enjoy the moment.
Yes.
See, that's one of the biggest hurdles that people don't talk about. We have to step back as parents and allow the kid to experience pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third grade, and fourth grade. We have to step back. And it's a reminder for each kid, Mrs. B.
Oh,
So
Dr. B, it's a reminder, but also it's a reminder to this is real critical here, that parents, mother and fathers are very nurturing, but also give the kid their space. But what's also critical is mothers, you have a very important job as the first teacher, whether you were like me for a little while. I was a stay-at-home working mother, and you have to also give support to those mothers that when you drop your kid off and you go back home and you got other things and other kids, your job is critical. You are the nurturer. You are the one that has brought that baby into the world, and the mother and father, and whether it's a person's adopt. And in our case, we have biological children. And what I did was develop the bond. So with that nurturing bond. So I want to say the mother's very important and supportive of you to be nurturing of yourself, self-care, and your role is critical. It is one of the first jobs that you have,
very true,
as well as parents, and it's
one
of the
our fathers.
First critical, yes, absolutely. One of the best jobs, the first jobs, and most important jobs that you can have in the world. And fathers' jobs is just as important too, but those first days are important. And getting into school, know that your child's going to be fine. If anything comes up, keep in communication with the teacher. And when you get home, nurture your children at home, because that also brings around the environment that you're in and keeping it
Well,
positive.
thank you, Mrs.
Keeping
B.
it
We have to
positive.
wrap things up. This is 24 minutes in.
Yes, it is.
This is How to Prepare Your Kids for Elementary School podcast show 28. With that said, only thing I have to say right now, Mrs. B, peace out.
Peace in.
Dr. B and Mrs. B, empty nester lifestyle. Ba da da dee da dee da dee da, la 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 la.